Something interesting about the way you work with variables in regression. So a lot of these are, you can see right here, it consists of lots of ones and zeros. So they either bought something or they didn't. But a lot of times when you're doing regression, you're going to have continuous variables. So, things like income or education level, or maybe attitudes, values, or personality traits. And those things are going to be on like a scale, of 1 to 7 or something like that. Or it might be an average that you've put together of a bunch of columns. Say they might all be items on the same scale and you average them together to create a single composite column. But that's not what we've got going on here. We've got a bunch of independent variables that consist of ones and zeros. Now, besides these sort of binary variables, we also have these two variables over here, implied gender, as well as whether they live in a home, apartment, or have a P.O. box. So let me zoom in over there just a little bit so you can see better. Now, there is an interesting way you have to deal with categorical variables that have more than two values. So we've got male, female, and unidentified, I believe the U stands for, and we've got home, apartment, P.O. box. This has 3 levels, implied gender, and then whether they live in a home, apartment, or P.O. box has 3 levels. So let's make another tab here, another sheet, and we're gonna actually compute those dummy variables. We'll call it data with dummy variables, and I am going to name this column male and female. So we're going to break apart the males and the females. Now, the interesting thing about regression in this case, when you're dealing with these categorical variables with more than 2 levels, is if there's a 3rd level or a 4th level, whatever the last level is, you leave that column out. So if there's 3 levels of the categorical variable, you only have 2 columns representing that. If there's 5 levels of a categorical variable, say you've got 5 different colors in the Olympic rings, I don't know, and so color would be a categorical variable, you'd only have 4 columns representing that. Let's see here. So for the next one, we'll just have home and apartment, because we don't need to know, or we don't need to have that column for if they have a P.O. box. So let's say, well, if, zoom in here so you can see this better. So here we'll say equals if, and I'll go back to the training data, and put if that A2 is equal to M, comma, we're going to mark it 1, otherwise we'll mark it 0. Click enter, and now there were, I believe, 1,000 people, so we have to drag this down to 1,000. 1,001 actually. And I'm going to make sure that it was indeed 1,001. So press Command arrow. Yes, it was. Okay. So for the next column, for female, we simply want to do the same thing, except we're going to put, let's see here, if it equals F rather than M. So I'll copy that, click enter, paste it here, and put an F here. And then at this point, I should just be able to send it down the rows. For the home category, we had letters as well representing that, so H, A, and P. So I'm just going to type in equals if, and I will go over to the training data and see B2. If that equals H, then we get a 1, otherwise a 0. Go under home so we can send that down the rows. And then I should be able to, that's at A2, just checking my work here, B2, and then this should be the same, B2. And I want to make sure that it equals A, and it gets a 1, click enter, send down the rows. Okay, now all we have to do is paste the rest of our data, so I'll go over here and select the rest of our data, Command C for copy, and so I can just click here, click paste, and I will zoom out so we can get some perspective on this. And now we have our full data matrix with these dummy variables computed in the way that they properly should be.